Spartacus is an iconic series and a masterpiece about the tragic journey of a slave who rises to become a legend, leading the greatest uprising in the history of ancient Rome. The film is not only a bloody epic about freedom and slavery, but also a vivid picture of ambition, betrayal, love, and the complex nature of humanity in a world full of violence and power. The first season of the series, with a total of 13 episodes, is a truthful and violent depiction of the Roman arena. The bloodshed is vividly recreated, from beheadings, backslashings, to gut stabbings of gladiators, each gory frame bringing a chilling visual satisfaction. Before watching, many might think the Roman arena was a place for deadly battles for glory, but Spartacus strips away the brutal truth. It was merely a means for the masters to vie for favor, bribe the public, please their superiors, and pursue personal gain. Two gladiators in the ring, who had no personal hatred toward each other, were exploited like pawns. The lives of slaves became worthless, mere tools to satisfy selfish ambitions. This is why the word enemy is always placed in bitter quotation marks. The following review contains spoilers. Please consider before reading. The Awakening Journey of Spartacus. The first season storyline follows Spartacus from the origins of his tragedy. A valiant Thracian warrior, his tribe had signed a treaty with the Roman army to fight against their common enemy, the Dacians. Spartacus fought to protect his homeland and the land of Thrace. However, during the march, General Glaber broke the agreement, seeking instead to attack the forces of Mithridates VI of Pontus. Defying his superior's orders, Spartacus rebelled and deserted the Roman legion under Legate Glaber to search for his missing wife. This act led to an even greater tragedy. His village was destroyed, his wife was captured, and he himself was enslaved, taken to the Roman arena in Capua for execution. But instead of meeting a shameful death, Spartacus demonstrated extraordinary strength, defeating 4 gladiators and attracting the attention of Batiatus. This marked the beginning of Spartacus's life in the Golden Prison, where he met friends and foes alike and began his transformative journey. If the writers' construction of Spartacus's character and storyline was already a success, then creating another central figure, the slave owner Batiatus, was nothing short of extraordinary. Thanks to the skill of the screenwriters and the profound acting talent of lead actor John Hannah, this passerby in history left a deep impression, surpassing even the glamorous heroes like Spartacus and Oenomaus. Oenomaus is Batiatus's trainer, a slave with a whip, the only man to have survived a match against Theocles in the past. One could say that Batiatus is the very soul of the entire season. He came from humble origins, yet possessed an intense ambition, which sowed deep conflicts and tragedies within him. He could flatter the powerful without hesitation, but after being mocked, he would boldly threaten and even kill those he once admired. As the owner of a gladiator estate, he operated like a slave gladiator in the political arena of the empire, striving to please those in power in order to gain status.
Traba outweighs with that of Legatus. The favor of both coin and title would speed our ambitions.
Behind Batiatus, one could say, was Lucretia. She loved her husband deeply and was always ready to do anything to protect and support him. If Batiatus was the most outstanding figure of the season, then Lucretia was the accent that enhanced that brilliance. His inner pain over his desire to enter the Senate brought him into a close friendship with Spartacus, but he constantly reminded himself of the difference in their stations. For example, in the chess-playing scene, Batiatus personally poured wine for Spartacus. But after being reprimanded by his wife, he immediately ordered Spartacus to leave in the tone of a master. When Spartacus was thrust into the training camp, he faced injustice from Crixus, a Gaul nobleman and the undefeated champion of Capua before Spartacus's arrival. The series also vividly portrays racial discrimination, with Spartacus being shunned because of his Thracian origins. Only Varro was a genuine friend, treating him like a brother. The pain of losing his wife plunged Spartacus into deep sorrow, making it difficult for him to focus on training. To motivate him, Batiatus deceived Spartacus with the promise that he would be reunited with his wife if he and Crixus could defeat Theocles, the shadow of death. Spartacus accomplished this feat, earning the title King of Capua and the moniker Bringer of Rain, bringing great glory to the house of Batiatus. However, Crixus suffered severe injuries that required a long recovery. The height of tragedy came when Batiatus kept his promise in the cruelest way, delivering to Spartacus not a living Sura, but her cold, lifeless body. The shock turned Spartacus's grief into an unfillable void of despair. Meanwhile, Batiatus recognized Spartacus as the hero of Capua, while Crixus was forced to train to exhaustion to avoid the risk of being sold. The deeper Spartacus became entangled in the bloody battles, the more he understood the ruthless injustice of the system, where a slave's life held no value. This awareness fueled his growing resentment, smoldering like a flame, waiting to ignite. The second major shock was the death of Varro, which plunged Spartacus into the depths of grief. In a long dream, referred to in the series as the Apocalypse, he experienced a revelation. Slaves could not remain forever oppressed and forced to entertain the crowd for the selfish gain of their masters. In such a world, the strong existed only to bring pleasure to others, while the weak inevitably faced one final outcome: death. From that point, a plan for rebellion gradually began to take shape in his mind. He successfully recruited 2 brothers from the training camp. Knowing that the uprising could only succeed with Crixus's support, Spartacus approached his former rival to discuss it. However, Crixus, still obsessed with reclaiming the title of champion of Capua after a previous incident, flatly refused. Without Crixus's agreement, all the other Gaul gladiators also turned their backs, leaving Spartacus and his plan in complete isolation. On the day of the final battle at Batiatus's lavish training arena, where numerous high-ranking officials and the nobility of Capua had gathered, Spartacus and Crixus were summoned to duel before everyone's eyes. Spartacus suddenly revealed to Crixus that it was Batiatus's wife who had poisoned his food, weakening him before the fight. In the end, Crixus came to his senses and joined forces with Spartacus, leading all the gladiators in a successful uprising, smashing the foul prison of Batiatus and reclaiming their freedom. The death of Sura, Spartacus's beloved wife, was the spark that ignited the entire rebellion. This loss transformed Spartacus into a completely different man, stronger, more resolute, and clear-minded. He continued training as a gladiator to conceal his true intentions, all the while quietly investigating the real cause of Sura's death. This process ultimately enabled him to expose the dark dealings of the entire Batiatus household, bringing an end to their brutal reign. For the sake of history, Spartacus's rebellion was inevitable, as was the downfall of the house of Batiatus. Batiatus was ruthless, his slender frame concealing a devious soul. He was willing to kill anyone who stood in his way, sacrifice the lives of well-trained gladiators, and even resort to dark schemes to harm others in pursuit of fame and status. By this logic, it is quite possible that politicians who attained great power in Rome also achieved their desired positions through such methods. Most of the scenes in the series are highly sensual, showcasing the strength of the gladiators and the radiance of the women. Even the sex scenes, which appear in every episode, exude sensuality without being vulgar. Each sex scene carries its own emotional effect. The scene of Crixus and Naevia together in the wine cellar evokes a sense of tension. The masked encounter between Spartacus and Ilithyia creates surprise, even outrage, while the intimacy between Batiatus and his wife exposes dissatisfaction and distance in their relationship. Every story element is indispensable, and the process of decline, glory, decline of the house of Batiatus is written from start to finish. This journey from triumph to downfall fueled the hatred of countless people toward the Batiatus family, and it was during this process that Spartacus fully awakened. The slaves in Batiatus's training camp had resigned themselves to their fate. They sought nothing beyond the camp's walls. They were merely Batiatus's mules, driven by the lash. They dared not resist because powerful figures like Onomas were watching over them. All refused to take part in anything outside the arena. Most were driven by money and completely unaware of the lies spread by the house of Batiatus. Spartacus was the first to realize and see through the true nature hidden behind those lies. Without Spartacus, the Batiatus family would have continued their cruelty. Meanwhile, another who had seen through the lies might have led the rebellion. Spartacus valued family and friendship, was kind and courageous, and became the savior of all the slaves. A city full of lies and inequality is not worth living in. Spartacus Blood and Sand is not merely an entertaining series, but also a powerful work that makes viewers reflect on freedom, justice, and the value of human life. One deeply regrettable fact is that the actor who played Spartacus passed away from illness, a heartfelt tribute to him. As Chris Albrecht, CEO of Starz, shared, he will live forever in the hearts of his family, friends, and fans. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you again in the next videos.